I've only dreamed of making tennis grow in the Philippines, and now I'm bringing a whole new audience to tennis all around.
There are compliments, then there are endorsements, and then there is what just happened. When Roger Federer's coach, a man who has spent his professional life inside the most elite, most demanding, most unforgiving environment in tennis, opens his mouth and starts talking about Alex Eala, the entire tennis world goes quiet and leans in. Because this is not a fan. This is not a social media personality chasing engagement with a hot take. This is someone who has stood in the corner of the greatest tennis player who ever lived. Someone who has watched genius operate up close, in real time, under the most intense pressure the sport can produce. Someone who knows exactly what extraordinary looks like because he spent years standing next to it every single day. And he is saying Alex Eala is something special. Not politely special, not diplomatically special, not the carefully measured, professionally cautious kind of special that coaches and insiders reach for when they want to say something nice without committing to anything real. He is saying it with conviction, with genuine emotion, with the kind of unfiltered, unprompted enthusiasm that you simply cannot fake when you have spent a career in a sport that teaches you to choose your words with surgical precision. He did not hold back, not even slightly. Let that sink in for a moment. The man who coached Roger Federer, the man who sat in the players' box during Grand Slam finals that will be replayed and studied and celebrated for as long as tennis exists. The man whose entire professional identity is built around identifying and developing and maximizing the very highest level of tennis talent the sport produces. That man just went on record with praise for Alex Eala that has the entire tennis world buzzing. This is not a small moment. This is not routine. This does not happen every day or every year or even every decade. When someone from inside the Federer inner circle, from inside the most respected, most celebrated, most scrutinized coaching legacy in the history of the sport, steps forward and delivers this level of praise for a 20-year-old from the Philippines, it carries a weight that no ranking point or tournament result can fully replicate. So what exactly did he say? And why is it hitting so hard? He talked about her game first, because that is where it always starts with the people who truly know tennis. Not the fame, not the fan base, not the cultural phenomenon, the game. The actual, technical, tactical, physically demanding, mentally exhausting reality of competing at the highest level of professional tennis. He talked about her left-handed game with the kind of specific, detailed appreciation that only comes from someone who has studied shot construction at the deepest possible level. The angles she creates, the way her serve sets up her ground strokes, the patience embedded in her baseline game that forces opponents into positions they simply are not comfortable with. The way she builds points like an architect rather than a demolisher, methodically, intelligently, with a plan that unfolds across exchanges rather than a gamble on a single explosive shot. He said it reminded him of something. He said watching Alex Eala construct a tennis point reminded him of watching the very best he had ever coached do the same thing. The same chess-like intelligence, the same respect for the geometry of the court, the same refusal to rush, to panic, to abandon the plan when the pressure builds and the easier option is to swing for a low-percentage winner and hope for the best. When someone with his frame of reference reaches for that comparison, you stop everything and pay attention. But he did not stop at the technical analysis. He went further. He talked about something that is infinitely harder to coach than a forehand or a serve or a movement pattern. He talked about her mind, the composure she carries into pressure situations, the way she processes adversity on court, not with panic, not with visible distress, not with the kind of emotional volatility that derails so many talented young players at exactly the moments when they need to be clearest. He talked about the incident at the Australian Open qualifiers, the moment she walked up to the chair umpire and said with complete calm, "I know what you are doing." He said that moment told him everything he needed to know about who Alex Eala is as a competitor. that the ability to identify injustice in real time, name it clearly, and then immediately return your full focus to performing at the highest level is one of the rarest and most valuable mental qualities a professional athlete can possess. He has seen it before in one other player. He did not need to say the name out loud. Everyone already knew. The tennis community's reaction to these comments has been immediate and electric, because praise from this source carries a specific kind of credibility that is genuinely impossible to manufacture or replicate. You can hire publicists, you can engineer media coverage, you can build a social media strategy that generates enormous engagement and creates the impression of widespread acclaim. But you cannot manufacture the endorsement of someone who coached Roger Federer. That either comes or it does not. It either happens because someone genuinely believes what they are saying, or it does not happen at all. And it happened. For Alex Eala, for the 20-year-old from the Philippines who packed her bags at 13 and moved to the Rafa Nadal Academy and ground through years of brutal development while most kids her age were navigating high school social dynamics. For the player who has been underestimated, underscheduled, controversially officiated, and relentlessly told by certain media voices that she needs to change her team and chase celebrity coaches. For the young woman who stood up to Oprah Winfrey on a matter of racial dignity without flinching. For the tennis player whose presence at Indian Wells drove ticket prices to all-time highs before she struck a single competitive ball. That player just got praised like never before by someone who spent his career next to the greatest of all time. Now think about what this means in the context of everything that has been happening around Alex Eala over the past several months. Every single piece of this story is building towards something. The Federer golden racket, the Djokovic endorsement, the Pegula defense, the expert declarations, the ticket surge, and now this. The coach of the greatest player in history stepping forward and placing Alex Eala in a category of talent and mentality that he has encountered only at the very highest level of the sport. These are not coincidences. These are not random moments of goodwill from unconnected sources. This is a pattern. This is a convergence of credibility from some of the most respected voices and figures in tennis, all pointing in the same direction at the same time. And the direction they are all pointing is unmistakable. The establishment can keep looking away. Certain rivals can keep nursing their resentment. The media voices who have spent months pushing the toxic narrative about her coaching and her court assignments and her readiness for the biggest stage can keep manufacturing their tired content. But they are building sandcastles against an incoming tide. Because when the inner circle of Roger Federer, when the people who have lived at the absolute summit of this sport decide that Alex Eala deserves their praise, the conversation has shifted in a way that does not shift back. There is something else worth examining carefully here. The timing of this praise is not accidental. Indian Wells is approaching. The tennis world's attention is focused. The ticket surge story is generating headlines. The EA Army is mobilizing in the California desert. Alex Eala is walking into one of the biggest stages of her career to date, with the eyes of the sport more firmly fixed on her than ever before. And in that moment, in that specific, charged, high-stakes moment, the coach of Roger Federer chose to speak. That is not random. That is a statement. That is someone who understands the weight of timing and the power of context, using both deliberately to amplify something they genuinely believe deserves amplification. He wants the tennis world to pay attention to Alex Eala at Indian Wells. He wants the people watching, the tournament officials, the WTA schedulers, the broadcasters deciding which matches deserve the biggest cameras and the most airtime. He wants all of them to understand what they are looking at. He has seen greatness up close. He has fed it practice balls and studied its patterns and stood beside it in the most pressure-filled moments professional tennis produces. He knows what it looks like in its early stages. He knows the particular combination of technical quality and mental architecture and competitive hunger that eventually produces the kind of career that gets talked about for generations. And he is saying, he sees it in Alex Eala. The rivals who are already unsettled by the ticket surge and the crowd phenomenon and the cultural movement surrounding her career just received information that should unsettle them even further. Because ranking points fluctuate, tournament results vary, hot streaks end, and cold patches arrive, and the mathematics of professional tennis are relentlessly, brutally honest about where a player stands at any given moment. But the endorsement of someone who spent his career coaching the greatest player who ever lived, that does not fluctuate. That does not get revised after a tough loss or a difficult stretch on tour. That lives permanently in the record of what people who truly know this sport believed about Alex Eala at this moment in her career. And 20 years from now, when that career has unfolded in whatever magnificent direction it is heading, people are going to look back at moments like this one and understand that the people who could see clearly were already talking about her in these terms long before the rest of the world fully caught up. The coach of Roger Federer did not hold back. He saw Alex Eala clearly, and what he saw made him speak with a conviction that the entire tennis world is still processing. The EA Army has known this all along. Now the whole world is being told. Drop everything you are feeling in the comments right now. Does this praise from inside the Federer camp change how you see Alex Eala's potential ceiling? Do you think she is on a trajectory toward the very top of the sport? And to the EA Army, does it feel like the moment is finally arriving? Tell me everything below. Hit that like button, subscribe for the most passionate and unfiltered Alex Eala content anywhere on the internet, and turn on those notifications. Because this story is accelerating, and you do not want to be the last one to see where it is going.